call the Personnel Finance Committee to order. It's 10:03 a.m. I'd like to make a comment. Commissioner Duckham is out of state, family business, and Commissioner Alexander is in training. So there'll be the three of us here. So just want to take mention of that. And item number 2, I'm looking for approval of the agenda. Okay. I have approval and support. Okay, it was Leitner in training, excuse me. Okay, let's move on to item number 3, public comment. Did we? Okay. I'll back up again. On the approval agenda, can I get a motion in favor of? We didn't vote? Okay, I'm looking for an aye. In favor. Those not in favor, an aye. Thank you. Okay, now we're at public comment, item number 3. Public comment. Stop laughing, Peter. Okay. I see no public comment. We'll move on to number 4, 4A. I'm looking for approval for the minutes for June 8th of 2015. Okay. I have an approval and support. Those in favor, signal by saying aye. Okay. Not in favor? All right, thank you. We'll move on to item 4B. It's the Lifeways bond. Mary Beth?
Good morning, Commissioners. As I presented at the study session last week, I'm here requesting for the board to make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the financing of the capital improvement bonds at the not-to-exceed price of $1.5 million.
Okay, thank you, Mary Beth. Obviously, this was brought up, as Mary Beth said, during the study session. We received quite a bit of information. Do we have any comments or questions by any committee members?
Just one, Mary Beth, just to clarify, you've got a good schedule of what happens when it comes before the board again in, I think, August or September,
yes,
correct?
It does.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Further comments, questions? Okay, looking for an approval? Support? Okay. Those in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Not in favor? All right, thank you. Thank you, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
Excuse me. We now move on to 4C, facilities. Rick?
Good morning, Commissioners. You have before you a request to approve the purchase of a new equalization vehicle. This is an item that was budgeted.
Commissioners, we have a cost here of $19,300. Any comments or questions? Commissioner Elwell.
Rick, how much more was the all-wheel drive, and is there any benefit or need for that or not?
Since they just requested a two-wheel drive to match the other one that they have, I didn't look at the all-wheel.
Okay, we got approval. Looking for support. Got support. Those in favor? Aye. Aye. Not in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, Rick, I guess we're down to item 4D, the tower building and parking lot.
Well, I believe this was a topic of at the study session, and if there's questions, I will certainly do my best to answer them.
Commissioner Elwell.
Rick, I'm not totally happy with losing the spots that we're losing. I'm also not happy with the 10-year agreement for the spots they're giving us. I guess I sit and wonder or worry about what we'll do after that 10 years is up for those employees. And I'm also concerned, unless I've missed it somewhere, as it appears to me that if we approve the agreement, we're going to pay the city about $65,000 to do the improvements, but there's no quote that I've seen. I mean, they're just telling us that how much it's going to cost, or is there some quote somewhere that we can see?
They did provide the numbers that they used for the competitive bidding process for all their projects. Gosh, Mike gave it to me, so I imagine we'd have no problems handing that out.
Well, I guess my point would be, why would we, I mean, unless we know that it's a firm $65,000, why would we not make the agreement to pay whatever the cost of it is, not to exceed that amount? What if it comes in less? I think Adam wanted to make a point there, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman Rice.
Excuse me. My device must be the board docs. Adam, yes, go ahead.
It's my understanding the item is part of a bid, so that it is a firm and fixed price, and it's lumped in with the other lots that they're doing. So from what Mike told me, it's a good price, and actually from Rick's analysis, he's assured us that it's a good price too. That also includes the engineering of it that is paid for at the city's expense up front. So.
Yeah, I just appreciate being able to at least see that, to know that we're not paying more than we should using taxpayer dollars. And again, I guess I'd ask, what's the plan for 10 years from now for those spots that we've essentially lost then?
Yeah, we would have to then purchase those spots.
The use of our parking lot after hours, that continues on beyond the 10 years. That's forever, right? The way it's written in the agreement, or not?
I haven't. Adam, have you seen the agreement since it came back from the attorney's office?
It's in the board packet.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's in the board packet.
And I'm pretty confident that the language has that continuing forever. Well, I'm not, I guess just to throw it out there, I'm not going to support this. I'm concerned about the parking after the 10 years are up. I'm concerned about the other, number of spots that we'll lose. And I think if we're going to lose this or lose these spots, that the city's offer should be forever on making up these spots that we've lost. So it's just my personal take.
Well, if I may, Commissioner, at some point in time, we will have to rebuild this parking lot. There's no question about it. At that point in time, we'll have to bring it up to code, just like we did at Human Services. We'll have to pull a permit, and we will have to comply with the city regulations. So we would still be in that same situation at that point in time.
But a couple of my issues, Rick, are number one, the proposal that we were given is actually eating up more spaces than we need to eat up for aesthetics reasons. Would you agree?
They're used up for compliance with the city code.
When we discussed it in study session, I thought the conversation was that we didn't have, if we redid it, we did not have to do it to that layout. That was the recommended layout, is how I recall the conversation, meaning that we would not have had to have lost all those spots. But I understand what you're saying about at some point in time we'll have to rebuild it, get a permit. But if we went that route, whenever that would be, that doesn't mean that we would have to agree to allow the city to use the spaces after hours. So there's give and take in it. And, once we've lost the spots, we permanently lost them. And then we're throwing our employees out to find parking on their own, or having to bear the financial burden of purchasing spaces somewhere else. So.
That's...
That's Steve.
Dave, I realize that this may not be a fair comparison, but I need to make the commission aware that at this current time, all city employees are required to go find their own parking places and also pay a monthly fee also for parking. I realize that it may not be comparing apples to oranges. Our employees we want to take care of. a little differently than they do, but I wanted to make you aware that the city does charge all of its employees to park.
And take this for what it's worth, but we do things a little differently than the city, I think. So, not meant negatively either way.
Rick, I got a question. So, obviously, actually, we have two approvals here that go together. To do the parking lot, we would also have to approve the agreement with the city. They both go hand in hand, in essence, correct? So, obviously, if we don't do one, we can't do the other.
Correct.
Okay. Commissioner Alexander.
Thank you. Rick, could you share with us the tenants this County Tower building currently has? Are they afforded as part of their rent space in the county parking lot, or how is that handled?
We just have one tenant that has parking addressed in their lease, and that's Curtis and Curtis. They have 3 parking spaces identified in their lease.
So how many tenants do we have total?
2.
Okay, thank you.
In this agreement, it states that the parties wish to share the cost of the parking lot and East Alley improvements. It's not our responsibility to improve the alley, right? That's something that the city is doing? That's
Correct.
okay.
But it was one of those things, though, too, where when we were going to do the overlay on our parking lot back here, we were going to take care of that portion of the alley next to our parking lot, just to make it better for us.
Adam?
The new access to the county parking lot will be through the city's alley. We'll no longer have access directly to our parking lot from it. So we currently use that parking, or that alley, that public alley, for that row of spaces up against the west and east side, but the after these improvements are made, the only access will be through the east alley.
I guess, why would that be? So, are there other businesses really that have access through an alley and not a main street entrance? We have to have, what, 150 or 200 feet of frontage on the backside, and you're saying that those are going to go away then, those 2 entrances we have there will go away?
Well, there's 3 entrances. There's the east alley, the west alley, and the center. I believe the reason to close the direct entrance to our lot is to add, it adds 4 more spaces to the road frontage, which are dedicated to the county. Yeah. But those spaces are dedicated to the county in the revised lease agreement.
Another comment I have is your alternative here. I don't necessarily like this either, but considering the situation and considering what the city's going to do and the keywords they're going to do it, and we are going to have to redo the parking lot, as you said, at some point, regardless. So I know you've thought this out thoroughly. Do you see in the foreseeable future any better option than what we have here? Not that we all like it, but do you see a better option?
I haven't, Carl.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments or questions? Commissioner Mahoney.
I just think that they should at least try to negotiate something with those parking passes. These, like Commissioner Elwell stated, the agreement is forever that the public will have access to our parking lot after 5 p.m. So I think that the agreement should also state that our parking passes belong to the county indefinitely, just like the agreement with the parking lot access.
Thank you. Adam?
I was reading the agreement to check for that. The way I read it was the agreement for the public space was the same length as the agreement for the spaces dedicated to us. If I'm wrong about that,
Adam, can you point out what page it's on
Very
of the agreement, if you know?
it's, geez, I was reading it earlier. It didn't specify, I didn't read it anywhere that it said that the public parking portion of it was in perpetuity.
Look on page 4, number 11. It just states that it's public parking after 5 p.m. Doesn't say how long that is, how long that part is for. But I think when it speaks to the spaces they're providing, it does say.
Yeah, and then in number 19 on page 5, it says, "The term of this agreement shall be in effect for 10 years." So I would think that every bullet there in that term means that the agreement for that public parking would be for 10 years. Basically, that's our only bargaining chip after the end of this lease, or at the end of this agreement.
I would be supportive if,
The way I look at that.
yeah, and there's a number 22 missing. I don't know where that went to, but I would be supportive if the provision of parking spaces to make up for this continued on. I would be supportive of it. I'm not going to the way it is. And for Adam, I guess page 5 is the numbering's all screwed up because it goes 21, 23, then 22, 23, 24.
I look at it this way, and it'd be for the pleasure of this committee, obviously, but it sounds to me like we do have some questions, and even some of the comments made by Adam aren't necessarily totally clear. You know, he thinks certain things are happening. Is this something that has to be done immediately, or we could potentially move this on to the full board and look for our answers, and we could discuss it then, or is this something that has to be done as we speak, or could we wait for some specific detailed answers that have been brought up? Mr. Chairman?
If the committee would deem it appropriate to move it to the full board with those stipulations, that administration return those answers before action would be taken at our Tuesday night board meeting, that would be appropriate.
Committee? Okay. Any further comments, questions? Seeing none, looking for a motion.
I'll move to send it on, but my expectation will be that they look at changing this part to make those spaces continuing on. If it doesn't, I won't support it at the full board.
Okay, thank you. Looking for support? Okay, those in favor, signal aye. Aye. Not? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, folks.
Wasn't hard at all, was it? Okay, we're at 4E, Information Technology. Could we get an IT person?
And what's with that static? I don't mean Carl, I mean on the intercom.
Somebody's phone is probably too close to one of the microphone cables.
Mr. Technology.
Yeah, sometimes that's what you gotta do. Okay.
Hi, Don.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here to present our status report to you. I'd like to hit a few of the highlights in the overall report. Basically, we have a number of areas that we're particularly proud that we have made some changes in, and want to call these to your attention. Countywide, one of the big things that we're very happy to announce is the formation of the On-Base Users Group. This is a group that uses the imaging system, and it consists of representation from the Friends of the Court, the prosecuting attorney, and the clerk's office. The intent with the formation of this was to leverage the county's investment in the imaging technology by providing a forum in which all of the users of the technology can get together, exchange the experiences they've had, discuss different directions that they'd like to go, and basically serve as a strategic focus for the future direction of the use of the imaging system. We're also in the process of exploring the creation of a next-generation website, which will incorporate more of the current technology. And along with that, we're looking at a smartphone-aware website. Along with that, we are planning by later this fall to early winter having a smartphone-aware capability for pothole reporting, and a application that will leverage the technologies that are based within the mobile platform of a smartphone. Moving on to the Sheriff's Office, one of the big things that we've done was the update of the medical records software. This is a product that had been several revisions behind and required upgrade to 2 levels because we couldn't upgrade directly. We brought some additional capabilities to the jail medical record system along with that. Moving on to the Health Department, we've been supporting them with their efforts in terms of disaster planning. Also participated with the technology review of HIPAA and personally identifiable information as relates to use on smartphones. We've also been involved in reconfiguring the telephone system to greater support 911 requirements. In the facilities area, we're happy to announce that we've changed the facilities help desk to a more contemporary system that provides greater capabilities to the facilities department and provides them with reporting capabilities that they had been seeking for a number of years. Skipping on to equalization, we've changed the way in which the local assessors submit information to equalization to streamline that process. We did that by providing a FTP capability via an FTP server. As a result, the process has been streamlined and the information is able to be uploaded to the county website much more quickly. The Youth Center is another case study in one of the changes that I've implemented. As part of the process that I'll discuss in a moment, we've begun putting together operating policies and procedures. One of them is a technology review policy in which any new technology is reviewed under a set of approximately 30 criteria, ranging from compatibility with existing systems all the way to total cost of ownership. And we're happy to report that we've been working with the Youth Center as they've been looking at their current resident management system and trying to plan for the future in terms of additional capabilities that they will be seeking. Moving on to our infrastructure, we have made a number of significant changes in the infrastructure, including upgrades to our storage area network and our virtualization environment, including new Windows Update servers, and we're in the process of updating our telephone software. On our software infrastructure, we're in the process of converting from the current or prior method of operation to more of an enterprise level of operation. And some of these examples that I'm going to cite reflect that change. So, for example, we now have network analysis and performance tools which make it easier to troubleshoot problems with the network. In the past, it was much more difficult because we did not have the tools to troubleshoot and diagnose the network at the enterprise level. We had to go down to individual switches and routers or segments of the network. The new help desk software represents a major breakthrough in that along with this software, we've brought the capability to deploy software upgrades in a more streamlined manner. As an example, when I first came on board with the county, the department was in the process of upgrading from Windows XP to Windows 7. This was somewhat of a long, arduous process because it required the techs to work on each computer individually. This new tool set that we've brought in allows us to do upgrades basically from the information technology department. We can actually deploy software to dozens or hundreds of machines at the same time, resulting in time savings and cost savings. We've also done some changes in terms of reconfiguring our mail store, and this was done for reliability and for disaster and triage. What we've done is we've broken up our mail store into a triage tree. So, for example, if we were to have problems with our mail system, the first component that would come up would be emergency responders and administrators, and basically the assurances that we have response to the public and that we have continuity of government. Internally, we're also doing some changes in terms of providing staff with upgraded training in terms of the newer technologies. So to that end, we entered into an agreement with a company called KnowledgeNet, which provided training on a number of Microsoft products to the staff. This was very cost effective because we were able to provide training to all of the staff with the budget resources that were available. And something else that's been added is we're adding the FEMA NIMS incident management system for senior IT staff, basically to understand the process of incident management and coordination and control within an emergency environment. Within the department, we've changed a number of processes. With the board's approval, we made a change in the email policy, which will facilitate implementation of payroll check stub distribution by email. We've also implemented project management, which provides for a more formalized control of processes so that we have a project plan and milestones and timelines. I guess one of the last two items in processes refer to the implementation of international standards. from the International Organization for Standards. ISO 20000 is a service delivery model that is commonly used in organizations such as Information Technology Department help desks to ensure that the delivery of service to customers falls within industry best of breed. And ISO 27000 is the industry best of breed templates for security. I wanted to point out some statistics just to demonstrate how much the department has increased its services. I created a little table which is in your report. We've, for example, gone from 47 servers last year to 66, and databases are now up to 426. So much of this is caused by increasing complexity of existing applications, such as New World software. Every upgrade adds some additional databases, and then we've added some new applications as well. I guess the last item that I am very pleased to report is that last year the county website was named as one of the top 10 websites for counties in our size category. I am pleased to announce that they recently made the announcement, and we are again in the top 10 websites nationally for counties our size. This is an award that is issued by the National Association of Counties in conjunction with the Center for Digital Government. This actually is very important because of the fact that the rating criteria reflect very well on the county as a whole, starting at the board, going to the administrators, and finally on down to the department and the county staff. The criteria include such things as citizen engagement, the alignment of the IT department with the board's stipulated goals, providing measures of effectiveness, implementation of technology, the implementation of enterprise business systems, development of service delivery models, and measurement and reporting of county performance and outcomes. And this will be formally announced later at the national meeting for the National Association for Counties, and it's my understanding that Commissioner Leitner will be present to receive the award on behalf of the county. So with that, I am available for questions.
Thanks, Don. I got a question. Have we received this award before?
We received it last year,
Okay.
and I understand that sometime in the past it had been awarded to the county, but it's been a number of years prior to my arrival that we've received it.
Okay. And we may have committee members' comments here, but I do know Adam has a comment.
Actually, Don, I'd just like you to address some of the memory challenges or storage challenges that you and I have talked about, just so the board gets an early awareness of something we're working on.
Certainly. A little over a year ago, the county purchased and installed a storage area network, which created a new virtualization environment. This is the technology that is commonly used in enterprises, and it allows for a better operation of all of the information infrastructure. It allows us to recover from problems with servers in a matter of minutes rather than weeks, and it provides us to dynamically expand the memory and storage capabilities of the servers. When I came on board, the storage area network had been installed and was starting to come online. Because of the growth of the applications that we've had and the increased amount of data that is stored, I've upgraded the storage area network 3 times. So we are now at the point that we've maxed it out in terms of memory. Further growth will be based on additional disk space or additional CPUs being added to that. We are looking at current uses, and We did have a case earlier where we had one particular database, which was a test database, that was causing some performance issues. We've since made some changes and addressed that problem for the near term. Over the longer term, as our applications grow in sophistication and complexity, we'll be looking at ways to upgrade that capability. There are different ways to do this. One is by adding additional disk drives, and I'm actually looking at that. I believe that we can obtain some within the current budgeted funds. The other options, of course, are to increase the memory, and that would basically mean repopulating the system with more dense memory. And at this point, we don't really look at adding another CPU for the foreseeable future. What this may ultimately involve is some changes in operational procedure. There are some departments that like to maintain archival data available immediately, and we may end up looking at the possibility of having the archival storage moved into a different form of storage where they may need additional time to access it and make it available in order to free up the space for the applications that are current. In other words, queries from archival files that occur perhaps once a week or once a month may be rolled into storage that is slower or perhaps offline and would be brought online as needed in order to free up that space for the current active applications. At this point, we are in the process of reviewing configurations of servers, also to ensure that they are optimal for the environment that we have.
All right, thanks, Don. Any further comments or questions by the committee? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Don. Let's move on to 4F, and this is a request to continue a service agreement for the Jackson County Medical Care Facility.
Yes, it is. The current agreement with the medical care facility was executed several years ago, and there have been a number of changes within the medical care facility which prompted them to request that we review the agreement. Upon review of the agreement, there were also some legal verbiage issues that we felt would be corrected at this point in time. So presented for your review and approval is the new agreement. Basically, the differences are that under the old agreement, the medical care facility did not have IT staff and were paying for a limited number of hours of support from the county. Since then, they have hired in-house staff, and over the past year and a half or so have made no calls for assistance to us. From the contractual verbiage viewpoint, there are some changes in merchantability, force majeure, and scope of work. The scope of work was changed to provide basically just pass-through connectivity to the internet through our contract with our vendor, and to provide them with space to store their system backups.
All right, thank you. Any comments or questions by the committee? Okay, I'm looking for a motion. And support. I'll support it. You did? Okay. We got the support by Commissioner Elwell. This will stay with the Personnel and Finance Committee, and those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. And not in favor signal the same. All right, thank you. Don, you got one more.
One more. This is for a lease with the Intermediate School District for the use of dark fiber. The county for a number of years has been using dark fiber owned by the ISD in order to complete our connectivity to the county facilities. These facilities include the Human Services Building and the Friends of the Court, and connections up to Chanter Road. This connectivity is necessary in order for us to provide services to these other entities. The fiber is currently such that it runs through ISD. Fiber goes down to Browns Lake and then works its way back up and ties into county-owned fiber.
Okay. Comments or questions? Okay. Looking for a motion and support? We have a motion and support. This goes to the full board. Those in favor of approving, please say aye. Aye. And not, please say aye. Okay. All right, Don. You are done.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now on to 4H, the financial statement, and we have Latasha.
Yes, I'm filling in for Jim today. He's off seeing his grandchildren for vacation. So the first thing I believe is on the agenda is the May 2015 financial statements. And the benchmark for the 5 months year-to-date is 41.7%. And we came slightly ahead of that. And that is primarily due to the second quarterly transfers that we do every year, and also some annual payments that were made for insurance dues and some higher maintenance costs that we had throughout the year. But if you look at the historical trends, we're pretty close to that. And for revenue, we are below the benchmark of 41.7 it's at 24.3%, but it's fairly consistent to historical trends, so it doesn't seem to be something too alarming with as far as the general fund in regards to revenue, because we're usually on a cash basis, or we are on cash basis. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments by anyone? Committee? Anyone else? Okay. Well, Tasha, thank you for that report. We'll move on to, let's see, we have 4I here, requesting a 2015 budget amendment.
Yes, we have some general fund and some health fund amendments that are in this motion. As far as the general fund goes, there is a net increase of $15,430, and that is primarily as a result of the cost-sharing agreement that we had for our HR director that terminated once our last HR director left. And so we had to put a decrease in the budget for that. And that is being offset by the higher projection of interest income, which isn't that we're necessarily having such a great year versus prior year. It just was under budgeted when the budget was created or adopted. So we had some cushion to kind of offset that decrease in the HR sharing agreement. And as far as the expenses go, for the general fund, those decreases are primarily a result of just staffing changes that have occurred in finance and HR.
Okay, comments or questions?
Any questions on that? Okay. And then there's also health fund amendments, and there's a net decrease of $159,628, and that is primarily a couple of different reasons there. We have a better projection of our indirect cost rate for the health department. We had some changes in our grant agreements, our comprehensive grant agreement that we have with the state, and also just better projections as far as expenses go, as we've gotten, the health department is on a September 30th year end, so we're quite a long way. We're 8 months in at May, and now we're at 10 months, so we have just a better projection of where our expenses will land out. So, Any questions on that one?
Any questions or comments on this portion of the 2015 budget amendments, plural? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion of support, please? Okay, I have a motion of support. Those in favor, please by signal by saying aye. Aye. Those not, aye. All right. All right, Latasha, thank you. You have one more.
Okay. This motion is just a reallocation for a administration HR specialist position that we share with Human Resources. Typically, she was allocated 50% Human Resources and 50% Finance. Now, we want to just reallocate to be a little heavier on the human resource side. She'll be 85%, 0.85 FTE, and 0.15 FTE to Finance. And that's just basically to reflect what actually is going on. She has been doing more responsibilities for Human Resources and less for the Finance Department due to increased demand that may be going on there for the Affordable Care Act or for benefit plans or what other responsibilities they have. And the Finance Department has been decreasing her responsibilities. So.
A motion support. Those in favor, please by signal saying aye. Aye. Not? Okay. Latasha, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, unless I'm missing this, my device is not working again. We're on to 5A, claims. We'll need a motion support. Okay. And this is to move on to the full board. I don't see any other minutes. 5C, reporting schedule for August. We have Finance, JTA, and the Land Bank. And we're back to 6A. Most have left. Public comment. Anybody have any public comment? Okay. Seeing none. Committee comments. Anybody have a comment? Okay, thank you. All right. And number 8.